The exchange fund posts $219 billion in investment income in 2024. Thai authorities bust a kidnap gang rescuing 7 Chinese men. And Israel allows Palestinians to return to northern Gaza. Good evening, I'm Melissa Hekalea, and this is TVB News. The exchange fund recorded $219 billion in investment income in 2024, marking positive growth for 2 consecutive years. Timothy Lee tells us more.
Hong Kong's exchange fund saw a second consecutive year of recording an income of over $200 billion. Although the fund reported a loss of $20 billion during the fourth quarter of last year, it managed to record an investment income of $219 billion. Return on investment reached 5.3% during the same period. A further breakdown of the figure shows earnings of $21.8 billion from Hong Kong equities, $135.6 billion from bonds, and $68.7 billion from other equities. But the gains were partially offset by a negative currency translation effect of $36.5 billion on non-Hong Kong dollar assets. The HKMA noted investors' confidence was further boosted by a series of policies aimed at improving the economy implemented by the central government during the third quarter of last year. Still, the monetary body emphasized many uncertain factors remain this year.
The new U.S. administration's policies on the economy, tax, and trade could add uncertainties to the inflation path, and that in turn affects how much room the Fed has in adjusting monetary policy.
Meanwhile, the exchange fund's position on fees on placements by the Fiscal Reserves was $13.2 billion, which is a decrease of $4.3 billion year on year. When asked whether the fund will allocate some of its earnings to alleviate the government's deficit problem, the HKMA chief executive said such allocations must not affect the stability of the Hong Kong currency. He further noted the exchange fund will continue to diversify its investment portfolio. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
According to Thai media reports, 7 Chinese men were rescued from kidnappers in the Southeast Asian country. Thai authorities have arrested 8 people, including 4 police officers. Mimo Singhai reports.
According to Thai media, the 7 victims were lured to Thailand by promises of high-paying jobs in the country. After their arrival, they were abducted to resort in Ubon Ratchathani, a city that borders Laos and Cambodia. The men were then forced to call their families and friends. The kidnappers demanded a ransom of 2 million baht, which is more than 460,000 Hong Kong dollars, in exchange for the abductees' freedom. During the phone conversations, the victims managed to pass on their location to the families, who then contacted the police in Thailand and asked for help. Authorities sent a rescue team to the resort and captured 8 suspects, including 3 special branch police officers, 1 border patrol officer, and 1 paramilitary ranger. The suspects now face charges related to misconduct and abuse of authority, while the victims have been charged with illegal entry into Thailand. Thai police say they will investigate if the case involved other officers, adding that a harsh penalty will be imposed on the offenders. Meanwhile, they said the arrest operation was one of the 7 measures aimed at tackling the issue of foreigners illegally entering the country, being deceived, and taking part in illicit business activities. Mums 9, TVB News.
Foreign Minister Wang Yi is expected to visit Britain next month to hold talks with counterpart David Lammy. British reports say the UK Foreign Office is already planning for mid-February. Labour officials say talks during Wang's trip will mean the first strategic dialogue between the 2 nations in 7 years. Relations deteriorated under the previous Conservative government. The Foreign Ministry in Beijing did not confirm the invitation, but a spokesperson says the countries continue to hold meetings and departments have restarted discussions. Palestinians are streaming back into northern Gaza in their thousands. The road is open after Hamas and Israel resolved a dispute over hostages, clearing the way for a mass movement of displaced people. David Garrett reports.
The marathon wait is over. Hamas agreed to release 6 hostages this week. Israel has allowed residents back to the north of the Strip. On foot, atop 2, 3 or 4 wheels, the arrival begins. Many away from home and loved ones for 15 months while war raged. Thousands on the move with the line stretching back for miles. The opening of the crossing was delayed for 2 days. Israel said Hamas changed the order of hostage releases. Much of the disagreement revolved around 28-year-old Hamas-held captive Arbel Yahoud. She should have been in the first 2 groups set free, but on Saturday Hamas instead handed over 4 female soldiers. Mediators resolved the dispute overnight, removing obstacles and allowing this mass movement of humanity. Yahoud is expected to be delivered to Israel via the Red Cross on Thursday. With 90% of Gazans displaced, many thousands are moving. Akbar Rahma is just one of them. I stayed at the checkpoint for more than 6 days in the cold without a blanket. I waited for this moment to see my family. I will continue to be strong in the struggle. As this homecoming happens, criticism by some about US President Trump's remarks suggesting Palestinians should be rehoused in Jordan and Egypt. Some say comments made on Air Force One over the weekend amount to ethnic cleansing.
We just clean out that whole thing. It's, it's over the centuries that's had many, many conflicts that side. And people are dying there. So I'd rather get involved with some of the Arab nations and build housing at a different location.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu returned to court as his corruption trial resumed. The case against him was delayed on medical grounds. He will answer charges of fraud, breach of trust and accepting bribes. Netanyahu denies wrongdoing. Destroyed buildings across the border in southern Lebanon. Lebanese protests over IDF presence turned violent over the weekend. The Israeli military opened fire with health officials saying 22 were killed, dozens injured. Despite anger and demonstrations, it's been decided Israel's military will stay for 3 more weeks. Israel says it is needed because the Lebanese army has not yet taken enough control to prevent Hezbollah regrouping. David Garrett, TVB News.
Belarusian leader Alexander Lukashenko has extended his 31-year rule in the weekend presidential election that Western governments call a sham. Lukashenko got around 87% of the vote. His nearest rival, who admitted he wanted Lukashenko to win, got around 3%, with the voter turnout said to be over 85%. An ally of Russian President Putin, the 70-year-old is accused of jailing political opponents. Germany says voters had no choice, and Poland mocked the result, with its foreign minister sarcastically posting surprise that Lukashenko only got 87%. Lukashenko held a 4-hour Q&A on Sunday, where he admitted he is a dictator, saying it is better for Belarus to be a dictatorship than a democracy like Ukraine. And the U.S. and Colombia have pulled back from the brink of a trade war after the White House said the South American nation agreed to accept military aircraft carrying deported migrants. Earlier, U.S. President Donald Trump threatened steep tariffs on imports from Colombia and other sanctions on its longtime partner for refusing to accept the deportees, which is part of Trump's sweeping immigration crackdown. Tracy Furness has more.
The US and Colombia clashed Sunday over the deportation of migrants and threatened to impose tariffs on each other's goods. On Trump's social media, he wrote, "Petro's denial of these flights has jeopardized the national security and public safety of the United States." Trump's retaliatory measures included emergency 25% tariffs on all goods coming into the United States, and in 1 week, the 25% tariffs will be raised to 50%. A travel ban and immediate visa revocations on Colombian government officials and all allies and supporters, and enhanced customs and border protection inspections of all Colombian nationals and cargo on national security grounds. Top Trump administration officials, including border czar Tom Homan and the acting Deputy Attorney General, visited Chicago on Sunday to witness the start of ramped-up immigration enforcement in the nation's third-largest city as federal agents touted arrests across the country. Colombia's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Luis Gilberto Murillo, said Sunday that his government have overcome the impasse with the United States and that he and the country's ambassador to the United States will travel to Washington in the next few days for high-level meetings to follow up on the agreements between the two countries. We will continue to receive Colombians who return as deportees, guaranteeing them dignified conditions as citizens with rights, he said. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
Still ahead, rebels in the Democratic Republic of Congo claimed to have captured the city of Goma. Strong winds damaged stalls at a Lunar New Year fair, forcing it to temporarily shut down. And a sneak peek of Lunar New Year Parade floats. Welcome back. Rwanda-backed rebels claimed they had captured Goma, the largest city in the east of the Democratic Republic of Congo, early today. This as the United Nations described a mass panic among the country's 2 million people, and the Congolese government called the rebel advance a declaration of war. Daniel Rao tells us more.
The M23 rebels announced the capture of the city of Goma in a statement minutes before a 48-hour deadline imposed by the group for the Congolese army to surrender their weapons expired. The rebels urged residents of Goma to remain calm and for members of the Congolese military to assemble at the city's central stadium. Late Sunday night, UN peacekeepers began to process members of the military who had begun to surrender on the outskirts of the city. Congolese government spokesman Patrick Muyaya called for the protection of civilians and said the country is in a war situation where the news is changing. In the past 48 hours, 2 UN peacekeepers from South Africa and 1 from Uruguay have been killed, and 11 others were injured and hospitalized amid the violence. The UN Security Council condemned the M23 advances and urged the rebels to withdraw from the territory they'd claimed. M23 is mainly made up of ethnic Tutsis who broke away from the Congolese army more than a decade ago. It's one of about 100 armed groups that have been vying for a foothold in the mineral-rich region, where a long-running conflict has created one of the world's largest humanitarian crises. Rwanda's government denies backing the rebels. However, last year the country acknowledged it has troops and missile systems in the eastern Congo to safeguard its security, pointing to a build-up of Congolese forces near the border. UN experts estimate up to 4,000 Rwandan soldiers are in the Congo. The Democratic Republic of the Congo's foreign ministry said late on Saturday it was severing diplomatic ties with Rwanda and pulling all diplomatic staff from the country with immediate effect. Daniel Rao, TV News.
Police have seized 50 capsules suspected of containing the space oil drug after searching a private car in Shengshui. A male driver has been arrested. The suspected drugs were seized after police stopped and searched a private car on Lungsum Avenue at around 1:30 a.m. The capsules tested positive for etomidate after authorities performed a rapid drug test. A 30-year-old male driver was arrested on suspicion of drug trafficking and illegal sale of Part 1 poisons. The police have also stopped and searched various vehicles throughout the night in the northern New Territories. 5 drivers failed to pass their breathalyzer tests and were subsequently arrested on suspicion of driving under the influence of alcohol. And the cold weather warning is now in force. A low temperature of 10.6 degrees Celsius was recorded at the observatory in Chimshachoy this morning, the lowest so far this winter. There were strong winds in Chimshachoy this morning. People put on thick clothing while on their way to work. But not everyone was afraid of the cold. The observatory says an intense winter monsoon is bringing fine and dry weather to southern China, and residents should expect another cold morning on Tuesday. The minimum temperature will be 11 degrees Celsius in the urban area and a few degrees lower in the New Territories, while the maximum temperature will be 18 degrees. And stalls at Lunar New Year fairs in several districts were destroyed by strong winds overnight, with a fair at Shengshawan Playground having to be temporarily closed down for repairs. After experiencing a night of cold winds, bamboo structures at Shengshawan Playground were left in disarray. Some stall canopies were completely missing, and many goods were crushed under fallen bamboo poles. The Food and Environmental Hygiene Department says the flower market will reopen as soon as repairs are completed. At the Tsowan Shan Lunar New Year Fair, at least 3 stalls were also knocked down by strong winds. The market continued operating, with stalls reinforced by bamboo structures. The strong monsoon signal was in effect, with maximum gusts recorded at 30 to 40 kilometers per hour around Victoria Harbour. On January 29th, the first day of the Year of the Snake, the annual Lunar New Year Parade will be held in Chimsachoy, with 100,000 spectators expected to join the festivities. Today, a sneak peek of the floats that will take part in the parade. As Annette reports, many have incorporated giant panda elements in their designs.
One float features a panda sitting in an iconic Hong Kong milk tea cup, while 2 other panda babies are enjoying ice cream on a local sailboat. Sponsored by the Culture, Sports and Tourism Bureau, the Hong Kong Tourism Board, and Ocean Park Hong Kong, this float displays all 6 pandas in Hong Kong. Another float from the Asia Tourism Exchange Center features pandas from different provinces rowing dragon boats. With the Year of the Snake fast approaching, snakes are also a key theme incorporated into the floats. This float by the Hong Kong Tourism Board has a dynamic LED lantern that depicts shadows of snakes and local festive activities.
I think the color, the pink color and the blue color, can bring people very young and I think very happy atmosphere.
This year's parade will have a new member, Line Friends, presenting a float with sparkling sails to signify a transformative moment into the new year.
We have the Western culture and the Eastern culture to mix together, so that this is one of the features that is really match Hong Kong. And I think Hong Kong is the only place that we can present this culture.
With 100,000 people expected to attend the parade this year, the MTR will increase service frequencies on the first and second days of the Lunar New Year. Bus services will also be enhanced with special overnight routes. The parade starts at 8 p.m. at the Hong Kong Cultural Center Piazza, with magic shows, dances, and other performances to take place before the event begins. And TVB News.
That's the news. Thanks for watching. Stay warm tomorrow and watch out for Pearl Magazine up shortly after the financial report. Bye for now.